because of their fear of the procedure itself. They don't know what it's going to be like. They don't know what the recovery is going to be like. I want to share their experience with you so you can feel comfortable and confident in your decisions. This is also, another word is adrenaline. And so it's kind of your fight and flight type of reaction that you have. That can make your heart race a little bit, probably about for 10 to 15 minutes. If you are considering chin liposuction, then this video is for you. Let me explain. Most of the patients that come into my office, their biggest apprehension to booking the procedure is because of their fear of the procedure itself. They don't know what it's going to be like. They don't know what the recovery is going to be like. They don't have any friends or family that have had this experience or had this procedure. And so they just are, and they've read a lot of Reddit posts, and that's very, very common. I hear it every single day in my office. But let me give you kind of an inside perspective of what this is like. Obviously, I can't say from personal experience, but I have so many patients that have come through my office that have had this procedure and they have talked to me about it. And I want to share their experience with you so you can feel comfortable and confident in your decision. So let's talk about the chin liposuction experience. When you've made the decision to even consider having chin liposuction, get a consultation. That is really important. See someone that does this procedure a lot, that feels comfortable, can assess your anatomy, and know that you're a good candidate. Once you've been deemed a good candidate, let's talk about what the procedure is like. Most patients after the procedure, or even during the procedure, because you can talk during this procedure when you're awake in the office doing the procedure, they say it's easier than getting lip filler, going to the dentist, doing many things. It's actually much easier than you may think. And the reason this is the case is because of multiple factors. And let me explain why. So first of all, in our office, one of the biggest things that we try to do is make you feel comfortable. You know, the overall experience, it's a vulnerable experience. You're getting a procedure done. You're putting your trust into people that you don't really know. You've maybe watched some videos. You met me once or twice during a consultation, but you don't really know us. And so we understand that. And we want to make sure that you feel comfortable because you're awake. We're there with you throughout the entire process and we'll get you through it. But first thing is come up with a good music selection. We want your music to either be something that you enjoy listening to, or we can listen to something relaxing. And honestly, that helps to set the mood quite a bit. The second thing that we do is the whole pre-treatment. So I provide several medications to help kind of relax you and take the edge off. So I prescribe some Valium, as well as some Norco, as well as some antibiotics that I want you to take an hour before the procedure. About an hour before the procedure, you take those medications and they start to kick in while the procedure is starting to get ready. And so that helps to kind of take the edge off, make you feel a little bit more relaxed, and just kind of make you a little bit less anxious. The second thing that we do is the numbing process. You know, for me, I understand that the numbing and the needles and the scalpels and all of these different types of instruments can be really scary and really uneasy and unnerving. But you know, I try to make it as easy as possible. I walk you through the entire process. I explain every step that I'm doing, if you're okay with that. Some people don't want to know anything that's going on. But if you're okay with that, then I'll kind of explain what's going on. This numbing process starts off with small little pinches and a little bit of burning just from the lidocaine that's injected. So that's made through the small incision underneath your chin, as well as oftentimes I make incisions behind both of your ears. So those injections is where there's maybe a little bit of discomfort. It's pretty mild, I'll say. And most people don't even flinch. After that allows me to inject the tumescence. So tumescence is a medication, or it's a kind of a concoction of medications that has lidocaine, epinephrine, bicarbonate, as well as saline. That helps to mobilize the fatty fluid, as well as also inject the rest of the numbing medicine throughout the neck, as well as some adrenaline or epinephrine to help kind of tighten up those blood vessels so there's not too much bleeding during the procedure. When I inject that, typically what you feel is maybe a little bit of pressure, no pain, and a little bit of tightness in the neck, just in the area that I'm injecting. So that's very normal. And it's really not too bad. Most people say it feels a little bit weird, but it doesn't necessarily hurt and it's not uncomfortable. The other thing that ends up happening is When the epinephrine is injected, and I always explain this to every one of my patients, this is also, another word is adrenaline. And so it's kind of your fight and flight type of reaction that you have. That can make your heart race a little bit, probably about for 10 to 15 minutes as it kind of settles out. So if you're lying there and you feel like your heart's racing a little bit of thumping, that's perfectly normal. And if you anticipate it, it will be much better. Next part is the actual procedure itself. You should not feel any pain. The biggest thing that people describe is they feel a little bit of pressure, a little bit of tugging, and a little bit of kind of, I'd say the weirdest part is honestly the noises and the sounds that you end up hearing from the liposuction itself. It shouldn't hurt. However, the biggest thing I will say, and I tell every one of my patients this, if you feel pain or if you feel discomfort, let me know. I have no idea if you're feeling that. And so communicate that with us. And if you need a little bit more pain medication, then I can give you a little bit more pain medication. And most people don't need any additional pain medication. I would say, maybe 5 to 10% of patients need a little bit more just to kind of numb up the surrounding areas, kind of the edges of the procedure. After that, it's pretty much it. I kind of close up the incisions, I wrap you up, you look a little bit like a mummy, but overall the procedure is really not too bad. It's about 30 minutes to 45 minutes of working time, depending on how much fatty tissue you have and how much contouring and definition I need to create during the procedure. So most people are honestly either relaxing, sleeping, or they're talking with us. You can actually talk during this procedure. It's okay. But people are surprised how comfortable they are during the entire experience and how easy it is compared to what they read on Reddit or watched in YouTube videos. So if you have concerns, I get it, but it's much better than I think you think. After the procedure, I want to briefly get into this, but I'll get into more depth in future videos. Surprisingly, it's not that uncomfortable and it's not that painful. The biggest thing that people will describe is soreness and tightness during the recovery process. The first night, it's hard to get comfortable. You just had a procedure, you have a wrap on, it feels a little bit snug, it feels a little bit tight. You may not sleep the best that night, but for the most part, once that wrap comes off, there is little to no pain. I've actually had patients go back to work the next day. Wouldn't recommend it, but I've had patients do it. I typically say downtime is about 7 to 10 days, but most people are back at work around 1 week or so after the procedure. So if you have any questions about the chin liposuction experience, or if you're concerned about this experience, or if you've had chin liposuction and you want to share your experience, leave them in the comments. I'd love to answer any of your questions, make future videos about this. Otherwise, I'll see you guys for future videos.